Hey Yosh, how you doing, Yoshi? You asked me to make this video for you for your get-together that you're having in Japan with your PCEC workers. This is Rick Del Judas. I worked with Yoshi in techniques for many years. He's a good friend of mine. I started with Panasonic and Techniques in 1977 and I left in 2010. I spent 15 of those years with Techniques, and it was probably the best time in my life. I enjoyed working with Techniques. I always loved the product, and I had a good time. It was a very different time in the world than it is today, and audio and sound was far more important than it is now. But it was a great time. For Don Iwatani, I don't know if Mr. Iwatani will remember, but I actually met him first time in 1979 when he sold me a whole bunch of giveaways for the Techniques department when he was with batteries. He sold me that little 3-power microscope and a little tiny flashlight and other devices that we would give away during Technique seminars. I followed him through all the way until he was the chairman of the company. So, how are you, Mr. Iwatani? I hope you're doing well. George Niwa, Oscar Seo, we also worked together in the really old Techniques department, way back. George was one of the first people I worked with in Techniques. I hope you're doing well, George. And Oscar, are you still a sumo fan? I remember we used to talk about sumo way back when you were first with Techniques. And as I mentioned, Yoshi is a very close friend of mine, and I always enjoyed working with him. Since 2010, I am retired. I do occasional work here and there. I did some work and presentations for actually LG way back when I first retired. Working with one of the companies that does business with Panasonic and Techniques. But now I am completely retired. I'm enjoying myself. I do a lot of fishing because that's my number one hobby. I still listen to a lot of music on my Technique system. So I have an SL1200 Mark II and a Techniques preamp, power amp, and a pair of SBM300 speakers. I still have a great time listening. I belong to several groups on Facebook that talk about vintage hi-fi, and one of them is even called Vintage Techniques, and I'm a member of that group. I'm enjoying myself. I'm having a good time. I miss working with a lot of you guys, and I certainly miss working with Techniques. It was the best time of my life. After I left Techniques, I went to the car audio and cellular telephone, and then I wound up with Panasonic doing the training and sales support division, and that was also a very fulfilling part of my career. But now my biggest thrill is casting a line out and catching a big fish. I hope you guys have a really good time at your dinner and your reunion, and looking forward to hearing from any of you at any time.